Let's get right out to our panel tonight. I'm joined by Brittany Cooper, professor at Rutgers, Mark Thompson, host of Make It Plain, and Liz Plank, host of Vox's Consider It. What do you think?
It's about time. Welcome to the party. He's a terrible president. We all know it. He has any sort of moral gravity that Republicans have had is trying to be the party of family values. He has systematically and frankly brazenly eroded their ability to claim that moral high ground. And so I'm not particularly optimistic that this will work, in the sense that part of what I see Trump doing is his, look, we're having gun threats every day. He's still backing off a sort of key pieces of legislation, and part of what he's doing is whipping up his base, almost, it seems, to incite them that if this election doesn't go his way, that they should be violent in the aftermath of it, and that is very scary to me. So the Republicans need to do a lot of work, and they need to do it very swiftly, and part of what they need to do is begin to speak to the fears of their constituency, because what Trump is doing is he's playing on their fear about demographic shift really hard in this moment, and he's not backing off of that.
Mark?
Well, I would agree. Also, this is a real test sociologically, even, because up to this point, he has been able to employ or implement racism and race baiting. But when it comes to these elections, even amongst some in his base, the bottom line is the economy. And we know the economy has always determined at the end of the day. So we'll have to see just how committed this base is when it comes to an economy. Now, everybody is saying that there's a recession looming. He's been in denial about it. Now, today it would seem, or the past 24 hours it would seem, now they're ready to acknowledge it. He kind of hinted at it by delaying the tariffs. Now he's talking about a tax cut. So he must even have some indication, and he must just have gotten, on his own, because he doesn't have any staff in the White House doing any work.
Well, you mentioned that. Let's take a look at that,
okay,
Mark, because you have, against that backdrop, as you mentioned, the Trump administration first pushing back on this criticism that they have no plan for a recession. Emergency tax cuts is now something they're offering, or maybe rolling back Trump's tariffs. And these reports, if nothing else, they concede that there could be a downturn, as Mark was saying. Meanwhile, this is important. Trump's allies in the press have found some bizarre ways to spin these jitters, claiming that it's just rich coastal elites who want to lose money in a recession.
It's pretty obvious that these establishment Trump-hating hysterics, all of them, of course, living comfortable coastal lives, actually want a recession because they think that's the best way to get rid of Trump.
To a degree, the media almost did that in December, and I think some people do it deliberately.
They do not want him to win again, and they don't like that the economy is doing well, apparently.
Mark, you are obviously all over this story because you mentioned it, but it's my job here to press the hard questions.
Okay.
Are you a coastal elite? Do you want to lose money? Do you want to lose money? Do you want a recession in order to defeat someone that you may oppose Donald Trump? I let you respond, sir.
As if, no, I'm not coastal elite, obviously, but definitely not rich. But as if we are encouraging it, or others are encouraging it just by talking about it. The fact of the matter is that it is real. We need to be concerned about it. Some on his base, farmers, for example, are being hit hard by these crazy tariffs. So, this is going to be a real test for him to see if he can sustain it by using the Second Amendment, sustain his base by using the Second Amendment and racism and everything else. But I think he's in serious trouble, and it's time that everybody acknowledge it and the rest of us cheer it.
Right. And while this is happening, he's talking about buying Greenland and Anthony Scaramucci, right? So he's clearly using his best sort of weapon, which is distraction, and he's acting like a reality show star that's about to maybe not get her second season renewed, and so she's picking fights with her friends, she's picking fights with her enemies, and it's basic. But at the same time, I'm also not interested in this sort of like Bachelor in Paradise, like morality edition of the Republican Party, or some members of
Absolutely,
it, realizing suddenly that they want to be a good person and that they have a moral conscience 2 years after the president called neo-Nazis fine people, right? 2 years after Heather Heyer was killed, months and weeks after children have been, or almost a year actually, that children have been separated by their parents. So what's going on here? I mean, you can say, great, I'm calling the firemen and the firewomen, but you gave him the matches, and so what are you going to do now? How are you going to fix it? It's not about you. It's about all of the people who have been harmed in this administration.
Yeah.
But there are two major problems. One is Trump is literally trying to undermine our confidence wins in the 2020 election. This is all of the tweeting about, what happened in 2016, even trying to undermine Google search results to create this base of skepticism so that no one can determine what the truth is.
Or does Google also want a recession?
Absolutely, of course they do, because
Google is a coastal elite. You know that.
That's exactly right. But the other thing that he's then doing is he's banking on a strategy that has always worked for conservatives, which is that if you appeal to people's tribalism, which the term racism, right, they will actually very often vote against their own economic interest in service of racism. I mean, that's the only reason Trump is in office. Certainly, his policies were never going to help the working class, white men who voted for him. Now they're seeing those chickens come home to roost. But he's using a strategy that worked before, that this is about whether you get to be classed among the haves or the have-nots, whether you get to be classed among those who are from S-hole countries or those who are from the great land of America. So he's playing on that tribalism, and that's actually really powerful. And so if Republicans don't speak to the fear that drives it, they're going to lose even whatever moral high ground that they're trying to get to.
Right.
He's a failed businessman, and now he's a failure as a president with this economy being what it is. And to your point about stoking fears about the election, remember in 2016, he was saying the other side was going to cheat. They're going to cheat. They're going to steal it.
Yeah.
And then he was the one who did it. So what's he doing now? By doing that again, is he not projecting what he plans to do? He has no choice but to fearmonger and cheat.
Well, and both of you mentioned this, and I think it's worth probing a little bit whether or not the economy falters. I, for one, am not rooting for a recession. Just want to put that on record. But there is a bit of a connective tissue here, right? When you look at the way that we're talking about what Donald Trump gets away with and what the powers that be, which is the arrayed forces we have in a democracy. It includes a free press. What do we say about lies? What do we say about racism? It includes the Democratic Party, which was doing a dance that, again, I think if Democrats' position is there was not impeachable conduct, then that's fine. That's your substantive position. But for a while, a lot of Democrats had the position that, well, it was impeachable, and maybe he should even allegedly, quote unquote, go to prison someday, but they're not going to hold impeachment because of political reasons. And so I say that context in sort of how do you confront racism if you think it's racist, and crime if you think it's crime, and lunacy if you think it's lunacy, because some of these lines are moving, and that creates, I think, some of the barriers that then Trump has to deal with. And we struggle about these things in our newsroom because we don't assume everything that is false is a lie. First, you figure out whether it's false. Then you have to do an investigation of does someone know they're lying, and Donald Trump does lie. Sometimes he says things are false where he may not know or care that it's false, and that's different.
Sure.
I say that with regard to Pulitzer Prize winner Eugene Robinson, the Washington Post. Right. Basically calling it out today, and if viewers know Eugene, who's a great writer, if you haven't seen this yet, the astonishing thing is the President of the United States is, let's face it, raving like a lunatic, and everyone just shrugs. The truth is, we don't have an actual presidency right now. We have a tiresome reality show whose ratings have begun to slide and whose fading star sees cancellation on the way. I say to you, Mark, and viewers know this, Eugene is a very careful writer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, he'll come on someday and tell me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure he would have written this on day one of the Trump administration, because the Washington Post says, well, there's a new president, respect the president. But we're in a place now where people are just saying, this is lunacy.
Yeah, and it's very significant for Gene to write that and for the Washington Post to publish it and to go on record. Those are some very, very strong words that you can't walk back. Sure. And even to say them now, when there's a possibility he might do something else even crazier, and then you would have, fired that gun already. So I think that we're in a place now where he has been enabled too much. He has been normalized too much, honestly, by some of our institutions in media. I say that respectfully. No one here, of course. But that's what needs to change. When we look at scrutiny that's given other candidates and other politicians, they don't get that kind of a pass.
Sure.
And we don't expect it, and they shouldn't.
Or sometimes it's like, is this person likable?
Right.
And you're like,
right.
what are we talking about? I want to